While there's little in the way of new spending programs, there is this.
I'm very proud that Budget 2019 introduces the new BC Child Opportunity Benefit.
The Child Opportunity Benefit for kids up to 18 years old. $1,600 a year for a one-child family with a household income of up to $97,500, going up to $2,600 a year for two-kid families, capping out at a household income of $114,500. The NDP expecting 60% of families to eventually benefit.
It doesn't kick in for another year and a half, so families with low income still have a bit to wait.
Something that does start today, interest on BC student loans gone. So for those with $28,000 in federal and provincial debt, that's a savings of $2,300 in interest over 10 years.
This is a massive step, and we think we're always going to continue work and fight for students, but this is definitely a positive step forward.
When it comes to poverty and housing, an extra $50 a month for people on income or disability assistance, and $76 million earmarked to buy land and build modular homes. Relief to those living in homeless camps.
Government's actually focusing on the right areas here, especially when it comes to pain points for the business community, childcare, housing, affordability.
Still, there is uncertainty. The NDP is banking on the same level of revenue from the property transfer tax, despite a cooling housing market, and predicting a big decrease in ICBC losses.
This budget seems to be assuming stable, nation-leading growth for the next number of years, also within the context of an increasingly uncertain global environment.
While that may be the case, the NDP is patting itself on the back for the first time in 40 years, eliminating BC's operating debt.
The biggest piece in getting rid of the operating debt means that those resources can be used for programs and services and support.
Regardless, this budget is clearly geared toward the NDP's base supporters, which the party no doubt hopes they'll remember come election time. Now, obviously, the Green Party and the BC Liberals quick to react today. So I want to bring in provincial affairs reporter Tanya Fletcher here. Tanya, what are the implications on the current government?
Well, Anita, the opinion whose arguably matters the most here is Green Party leader Andrew Weaver's. And of course, that's because the Greens are still propping up this minority government. So if they didn't like what the NDP had in this budget, they could potentially choose not to support it in a vote and hence perhaps topple the current government as it stands. However, that is not likely. We spoke with Andrew Weaver today. He was overall pleased with his budget. He did say that, he's beaming as he talked about the Greens' fingerprints, as he called it, all over this budget, specifically around the climate action plan that he has championed, Clean BC. He said he's pleased with the $900 million investment that's going to Clean BC, but he admits the specifics around some of those incentives are still sparse.
Some of the industrial components was not really detailed here. Secondly, when you look at the Clean BC, it actually permeates all ministries. It's not only an environment, it permeates all ministries. So look for the revision of BC Hydro as we move forward with that. Look for the retrofit program, which wasn't announced today. It was $1 billion which was announced in the fall in terms of retrofitting and energy efficiency and schools and hospitals buildings. That was not part of this budget in terms of the $902 million.
As you might expect, the opposition not quite so happy with this budget. The BC Liberals saying they are baking in a lot of spending. They say they are doing nothing, the NDP, to stimulate the economy or grow the private sector.
It's simply irresponsible to just continue to assume that the economy is going to continue to grow at the pace that it has without specific measures and priorities. There was absolutely nothing in this budget, absolutely nothing, that focuses on a jobs plan, growing the economy, ensuring that revenue generation comes from the private sector, from investors wanting to come to British Columbia. Zero about that in this budget.
So we heard her touch on there some of the other criticism we've heard about the NDP relying so heavily on a positive economic forecast when the winds of the economy, as the Liberals said, are beginning to change. And Anita, you mentioned that in your piece with the property transfer tax. You know, the government has projections of those staying level, that money coming in, and yet we're seeing the housing market cool off. And it's the same idea for ICBC. Well, we've just come off a year of over $1 billion deficits. You look at that budget number today, and they're projecting only losses of $50 million this year. We asked them where they got that number. They are banking heavily on the reforms coming, the ICBC reforms coming April 1st, to really turn that ship around to curb the bleeding at ICBC. So a lot of these X factors hinging on question marks. We really don't know how they'll pan out in the future.
Okay, Tanya Fletcher, thank you very much.
You bet.